put your gavel and bell down below. I'll put it back up. Okay. What did you say? You got all 9. Thank you. You're welcome. Shirts. I'm sorry, Keith. I'll put in a good word for you. Maybe they'll make you the next commander. I've got 1.5, 2. I'm waiting on one county. One more. My final picture. Actually, we have 9 boys. 8 counties are playing. 2, for whatever reason, didn't give me a floor. And didn't tell me. One county, I got 2 boys. So, yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm not worried about it. Well, but actually working, I've worked, I'm on lucky. No, you can sit down. Gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Boys State Oratorical Contest. My name is Mike Pankowski. I will be conducting the contest. Can I see a show of hands? How many in here have participated in an American Legion oratorical contest? For your information, a normal contest is you give 2 orations. The first oration, 8 to 10 minutes long. No podium, no microphone, no notes. You're doing all of this from memory. And then there's a second oration called the assigned topic on one of 4 topics on amendments of the Constitution, 3 to 5 minutes in length. We blind draw one of the 4 amendments, and you're given 5 minutes to prepare, and then you give a 3 to 5 minute oration. Now, why would you do all this? Starting at the post level and continuing all the way up at the national level, there's prize money involved, scholarship money. Most posts, just for participating, you would get $50 from that post, and the winner would get $200. At the district level, the winner would get $600. At the zone level, the winner will get $1,000. At the department level, the winner gets $6,000. And at the national level, the winner gets $25,000. So, 2 years ago, we had a department champion named Ian Chung, who won the department level championship 3 years in a row. His first year at national, I think he only made it into the first round. The second year, he made it into the semifinals. His third year, he came in second place nationally. In 3 years, he took home over $60,000. So one of the reasons we're here doing this tonight is we would like to plant the seed for you to go home and maybe participate in this contest in your senior year. Now, tonight's contest is different than a normal oratorical. The length of the oration will be 3 to 5 minutes. All students participating can use the podium, can use the microphone. And very importantly for them, tonight they can use written notes to help them in their oration. We have 2 timekeepers in the front. I said 3 to 5 minutes. At the 3-minute mark, they will hold up a sign so the contestant can see it. Another one at the 4-minute mark, and another at the 5. Great teamwork. Under 3 minutes or over 5 minutes, there'll be a penalty of 1 point. All these citizens of Boys State that are participating will be introduced by number only. No name, no cities, no Boys State number. They will be introduced at the very end of the contest. Also, during the contest, please ensure all cell phones are off. Do not use your cell phones whatsoever during the contest. Once the citizen is done with their oration, do not applaud. Please save all the applause to the very end of the contest when we introduce everybody. If there are no other questions, we're going to start the contest with our first contestant. Thank you. Contestant number 1 can come up. I ask everyone, please, to be silent and give the respect for the contestant while they give their oration.
Fix this thing. Good evening, Boise State. My name is Flynn McDonald, number 0028. I'm from Roosevelt County. And
Quiet.
oh, my bad. So as I'm going first, I felt it's only fitting to talk about the First Amendment of our U.S. Constitution. My time here at Boise State has really made me reflect deeply about it and the sense of gratitude I have. The first Constitution, it promises us freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and freedom of speech. And I feel like I see all those aspects in every single one of you and here in my time at Boise State. And so a bit of history about it. The First Amendment was added in 1791, and it's basically a testament to our commitment here as like Americans, what we stand for as a country. So I feel like it's not really, I don't see it more as like a privilege, I see it as a duty. Since it's like what our founding fathers fought for, it's our job to protect it and like value it. And I feel like here at my time at Boise State, it's taught me more about that because every single election that we do matters. Whether it's from the city level to the state level, our voice matters in every single vote. And it made me really reflect about how America is the greatest country in the world thanks to these rights and these amendments in our Constitution. I also learned how to foster debate with all my fellow peers here at Boise State. It really taught me a lot about, it really just goes to show how all our voices can go forward and make a better change. The next part is the freedom of religion. Coming here at Boise State, it made me realize the diversity of our state and the freedom we have to all express ourselves equally, no matter our faith, whether it's Catholic, Christian, Buddhist, whatever. And it really goes to show that like we are better united than anything. And it's one of the reasons America is the greatest country, that you can come here no matter what and you can practice your religion freely and safely, and you can't see the same for the rest of the world. The next one is the right to assemble. And I feel like Boise State is all about just the right to assemble and everything. We come here, we make our caucuses, we make our parties, and it really taught me how like, and like it really just taught me the power of like empowering my voice to really make sure that like we stand for something. Where is it? Yeah, so it really just taught me that like every single time when we did our ensembles, it really made me think about what is it? Yeah, it really just gave me a real sense of responsibility, and I feel like that Constitution is not just speaking in the law of the land, it's something that we could all strive and do better towards. And it's a great power that we have as Americans and something that I really, really cherish, and something Boise State has essentially instilled in me now, and I hope it instilled in everyone, is the fact that like we are the future of America, and this First Amendment is what allows us to be the best country in the world, allows us to instill our own democracy, and also allows us to freely represent ourselves. Thank you.
Please, as a courtesy to the speakers, a reminder, no applauding and silence during the oration. Thank you. Please send contestant number 2.
Time for the first student, 3 minutes, 21 seconds.
3 minutes, 21 seconds on the first oration, no penalty points. Shame on me. Be called out by Rena of all people.
As you may have heard, the Trump versus United States court case just concluded yesterday. And it was decided that it would be postponed to after the elections are over. But let's start at the beginning to consider why this is important. During the birth of the United States as a country, our forefathers designed the best governing system our world has ever seen, our Constitution. Doing everything in their power to avoid tyrannical corruption, they created a series of 3 protective layers against this, in the form of the 3 branches of the U.S. government. These systems are at threat as we speak because of this court case decision, but we'll get into those in a second. They laid out, our forefathers, the legislative branch consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate as Congress, the executive branch, which essentially revolves around the President of the United States and his actions, and the judicial branch, where the country's most important conflicts are resolved. Within these branches lie the system of checks and balances, which have held our nation together for countless years. I find this aspect of the Constitution to be imperative to not only our nation's success, but its conceptual existence. Now, you'd think that 235 years between the Constitution's ratification and the present day, that these basic constitutional systems would have been fully understood and undisputed. But we still face issues in the modern day on this topic. Just yesterday, centuries after these systems were created, the checks and balance system of our country has shifted. This occurred, as I mentioned before, in the Trump versus United States court case, where the rationale of presidential immunity was introduced. Prior to this court case, it was widely accepted that no citizen is above the law, even if that citizen is the President of the United States. However, the new absolute immunity granted to presidents moving forward changes everything about the way our country works. So what is immunity? It is a policy that states that the president can do anything that is quote unquote within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. Now, what does this mean? This essentially gives any president moving forward different treatment in court when compared to other citizens, which means they could have advantages when people are trying to prosecute him. This rationale takes power straight away from Congress, which is the branch that handles impeachment. Previously, President Richard Nixon had caused much trouble in the government, and Congress said no. They didn't allow it to go on, and they forced him to resign before he would have been surely impeached. Unfortunately, this rationale gives power to the executive branch, which means the president is above the law. You add this rationale to a slight bit of political corruption, and you have the possibility of a power-rampant, dare I say, tyrannical government. That being said, as was done with the separate but equal clause in the 20th century, where segregation was essentially made legal based on a simple rationale, we can also reverse this court decision, as we did with separate but equal. If we can manage to do that, we can restore balance to this beautiful republic that so values its democracy. Thank you. Can I take a question? Question over in Stenberg County?
Excuse me. You said you're done, right? Thank you.
Yeah, you said I could take questions.
No questions.
Oh. Sorry.
Time, please.
Time, 3 minutes, 31 seconds.
3 minutes, 31 seconds, no penalty for contestant number 2. Contestant number 3, please. Contestant number 3, please give your attention. Thank you.
Boys State, how we doing tonight? On April 19th, 1775, British soldiers set out from Boston, Massachusetts. Their goal? To put down the growing rebellion of American colonists. They squashed the Minutemen in Lexington, but when they arrived in Concord, they met a full force of colonists, armed and ready to fight for freedom. And you better be sure those colonists sent the redcoats packing. Over a decade later, John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton wrote a collection of 85 essays that would become known as the Federalist Papers. These essays advocate for the ratification of the Constitution and its accompanying Bill of Rights. In Federalist 46, Madison argued that the right to keep and bear arms, as well as the right to form a state militia, were necessary to protect the people from government tyranny, just as it did in Concord. God forbid it, if our government ever took away basic freedoms, the people have the right to defend themselves. These ideas eventually became the Second Amendment of the Constitution, being a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Today, many are calling for the modification or outright removal of the Second Amendment. This is due to the large uptick in media coverage of mass shootings across America in recent years. Advocates against the Second Amendment point to the 33,000 Americans who sadly lose their lives each year due to gun violence. It is terrible that this is the case, yet these statistics do not support the removal of the amendment. 66% of these deaths are very sadly suicide-related, while 27% are from criminal violence in densely populated areas. The repeal of the Second Amendment will not change this. People will either turn to other, worse methods or obtain weapons illegally. Instead, we should put more focus into getting help for those struggling with mental illness and suicide. On the other hand, people say that the government has no right to restrict gun rights to any extent. But there has to be a cutoff somewhere. Everyone here would probably agree that Elon Musk should not have the right to own a nuclear submarine. But every man in America has the God-given right to be able to defend his family. Anyone looking to purchase a firearm should have no problem with a 72-hour wait period for a background check and should have no need for any military-grade weaponry. But to insist that we Americans simply hand over our arms is to insist that we give up our greatest protection from tyranny, be it Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, or Cambodia under Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. When civilians are stripped of their gun rights, things such as genocide and forced starvation can take hold like that. The Second Amendment not only allows us to hunt for our own food and to defend our families, it is what will keep America the home of freedom for years to come. In his 1968 speech at the Republican National Convention, my personal hero, Ronald Reagan, said that if we lose freedom here, there is no place in the world to escape to. He said that this is the last stand on earth, and if it shall come to it, that we must make that final stand of freedom. We will make it just like the Minutemen of Concord, armed and ready in the face of tyranny in the name of freedom. Thank you.
Time, please.
Time. 3 minutes, 31 seconds.
3 minutes, 31 seconds on the time. There is no penalty. Contestant number 4, please. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I'm trying to judge the height of each kid as they're walking up so I can adjust the mic for them.
Upon the end of this nation's civil war, the United States of America faced the question that many of us ask today. What does it mean to be a true American? Facing this problem, the victorious and proud American government decided to give the final answer to this question with the 14th Amendment, giving all those born or naturalized in these great states equal protection under the law as brothers in citizenship. The truth we famously thought to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, was finally the doctrine of America. But still, this question persisted, rearing its ugly head and constricting the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to many. Instead of equal protection of the law, our country saw a separation of superiors and inferiors. Instead of providing due process for all, our country corrupted the meaning of justice and in place maliciously let out anger onto the innocent and oppressed citizens of this country that didn't meet society's mark for being a true American. The supreme law of this land had constantly been disrespected in order to appease the selfish desire for superiority over others. But as time passed, the definition of a true American became more and more inclusive. As time passed, people flooded our shores to find the freedom promised to American citizens in our Constitution, the promise of fair justice and equal protection of the laws. As time passed, my parents arrived here to seek that same promise. Stereotypically arriving with nothing but the shirt on their backs, my parents left Columbia for the opportunity to find the ultimate liberty. The American liberty to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and go as far as your ambition takes you. Living in house to house, working 3 jobs just to keep us above water, my father labored day and night to make it in this land. My mother worked 2 jobs and my grandmother worked 1 too, all while raising me and my brother to be the people we are today. If you ask me this same question that's been plaguing America since our inception, what makes a true American? My belief is that if you are ambitious and work hard for this country, you are the backbone of America. You are what this country was built on, and you are what makes this a land of opportunity. You are American. America, the melting pot of color, creed, and nationality, is the closest it has ever been to being blind to any of those 3 adjectives. We're closer than ever to fulfilling the words of the 14th Amendment. And we're closer than ever to accepting each other, not for our backgrounds, but for the content of our characters. This work has brought us strength in diversity, innovation beyond belief, and has made us the shining city upon a hill that we were fated to be since 1776. We are not yet an ideal utopia. We are not yet without our issues. And we are not yet without our divisions. But what we are is determined. With our founding document containing the words that we are all afforded the same equal rights, our nation has the strongest foundation in the world to heal the wounds ever present between us. In a time where our division is threatening to make us weak again, the 14th Amendment offers us a little appreciated yet important refuge. The 14th Amendment provided my family the inspiration for the prosperity we now see in this new land we call home. The 14th Amendment provided a pathway for my parents and I to have the ability to call this land home. The 14th Amendment provides all of us the ability to say that we bleed red, white, and blue. And I hope that one day I will get to see our nation realize that our differences are what make us the strongest country in the world. Because this nation, of the people, for the people, by the people, can only get stronger by accepting that while we are all different, we are American, a right granted to us by the 14th Amendment. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Please, as a reminder, do not applaud, no sound during the oration. Time, please.
Time, 4 minutes, 32 seconds.
4 minutes and 32 seconds. There's no penalty. Contestant number 5, please. A quick public service announcement. A cell phone was found in one of the porta potties. See me after the oratorical contest is over. Please give your attention to contestant number 5.
The most fundamental process derived from the Constitution to ensure that the rights of citizens are fulfilled and ensured by the federal government is the process known as selective incorporation. Now, when our government was formed at the end of the 18th century, most of the focus was simply on the federal government, and that was seen in the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights began with the words, "Congress shall make no law." That was the First Amendment to the Constitution, which then laid out the rights that we have to speech, to press, to assembly, and to religion. However, by stating that Congress shall make no law, the federal government was essentially giving a pass to all other forms of government for restricting these liberties. Now, we here at Boys State know that the government is far bigger than just the federal level. We've got state government, we've got county government, we've got city government, we've got village government. Now, all of these forms of government were free to go against the Bill of Rights because the Bill of Rights originally only applied to the federal government. So you had cities, states, and counties that were able to pass laws restricting the right to speech, restricting freedom of religion, restricting everything we hold dear as Americans. Now, when did this change? Because we know we live in a free society today where no government can pass laws against us that embody tyranny. Well, this change began right around the Civil War. Now, the Civil War was a huge turning point in our nation because we saw that even though we need a strong national unity, we need states that are dedicated to that unity. So by having it that only Congress is restricted from passing laws against our civil liberties and not forcing that provision onto the states, we saw injustice, we saw unfairness. And this was most clear after the Civil War when the southern states began passing racist segregation laws, racist black codes, and the black people that were just freed from chains had nothing that they could do about it because the state governments and the county governments were not held to the same standard as the federal governments. So that's why Abraham Lincoln and the radical Republicans of the North led one of the most important amendments into our Constitution, the 14th Amendment. Now, the 14th Amendment guaranteed citizenship rights to all the freed slaves in the South. The 14th Amendment said that no state should enact laws that are against the rights that are given in the Constitution. So this meant that the states now had to be on board with the federal government, and this meant that the states could no longer restrict these freedoms. However, we saw with Plessy versus Ferguson, the Supreme Court did not uphold this standard originally. But this changed. And why did this change? Well, there was a man from New York, actually, and we've elected this position already. He was a man who was Chief Justice of the New York State Court of Appeals. His name was Benjamin Cardozo. He was from downstate, but he was committed to our government and to our country. Now, once he was appointed to the Supreme Court, he was a brilliant legal thinker. He saw the law that made it apply to the states, selective incorporation, where the most crucial aspects of our Constitution are forced onto the states so that they don't abridge our freedoms. He saw that and he wrote an opinion in Palco v. Connecticut, which ensured that the most fundamental rights we have and we all share are guaranteed to all Americans, regardless of the state. Now, what's one example of this case? What's one example of the consequence? Well, the first example is Chicago v. McDonald, where a man whose house was robbed 3 different times was unable to purchase a handgun because the city of Chicago said, "We do not allow you to possess guns." Well, under selective incorporation, the Second Amendment became incorporated because it's a fundamental right, and that man was given a gun so he could protect himself. Thank you.
Time?
Time. 5 minutes, 4 seconds.
5 minutes, 4 seconds, a 1-point penalty. Silence, please. Contestant number 6, please. Please give your attention to contestant number 6.
I work at the grocery store Wegmans as a cashier. That job sucks. I have to deal with these pissy customers and scan everyone's food and pack it just perfectly and bore myself for hours staring at the same aisle lined with frosted flakes. But that's besides the point. Wegmans prides themselves in the fact that almost all of their food is grown inside of the United States. They deal with interstate trade, but not international trade or with import tariffs. That is what I am here to talk to you about today. I would like to address a critical aspect of our economic policy embedded in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, which grants Congress the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. This clause is the cornerstone of our ability to impose import tariffs, a tool that has become particularly significant in our trade relations with China. Import tariffs are taxes imposed on goods brought into the country from abroad. They serve multiple purposes, protecting domestic industries from foreign competition, generating revenue for the government, and addressing trade imbalances. One of the first huge American crises, the nullification crisis in South Carolina in the 1830s, relating to Andrew Jackson's import tariff, relates to this clause. In the context of our trade relationship with China, these tariffs take on an added complexity and importance. China is one of our largest trading partners, and over the years, the trade imbalance has grown, with the U.S. importing significantly more from China than it exports. I mean, look at merchandise. Look at the bottom. It says, made in China. This imbalance has led to concern about the impact on American manufacturing, job losses, and the broader economic implications of such a dependency. Import tariffs on Chinese goods are one way Congress has sought to address these issues. Proponents of tariffs argue that they protect American industries from unfair competition. Chinese manufacturers often benefit from state subsidies, lower labor costs, and less stringent environmental regulations, allowing them to produce goods more cheaply than their American counterparts. By imposing tariffs, we can level the playing field and cut out on coerced and unsafe labor, giving U.S. businesses a fairer chance to compete. Moreover, tariffs can be used as a strategic tool in negotiations. The U.S. has leveraged tariffs to press China on issues such as intellectual property theft, market access, and forced technology transfers. As we all know, China is a communist state, but in reality an authoritarian oligarchy where the people's liberties are extremely suppressed and their labor exploited. These critical concerns and tariffs are affect not only the economic health of our nation, but also its technological leadership and security. However, it is crucial to recognize the nuanced implications of imposing tariffs. While they can protect certain industries, they also have the potential to raise prices for consumers and create supply chain disruptions. Many American businesses rely on Chinese imports for raw materials and components, and higher tariffs can increase production costs, leading to higher prices for consumers. This can be particularly challenging for low-income families who may be already struggling with the cost of living. As these prices go up, the standard of living goes down. It becomes incredibly less affordable, creating a negative effect on the ever-expanding wealth disparity in the United States. Furthermore, tariffs can lead to retaliatory measures. China, for instance, has responded to U.S. tariffs with its own set of tariffs on American goods, impacting farmers and manufacturers who depend on the Chinese market. This tit-for-tat escalation can create a trade war, which can be detrimental to both economies and the global market. It is imperative to use the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 of the Constitution to benefit both the American businessman and the American common man. Striking the right balance between tariff and price of goods is essential to ensuring that our trade policies support the common defense and general welfare of the United States and the people, as envisioned by our founding fathers 250 years ago. Thank you.
Time for contestant 6.
4 minutes, 32 seconds.
4 minutes, 32 seconds. No penalties. Contestant number 7, please. Please give your attention to contestant number 7.
My fellow Boy Staters, we should all be proud of ourselves, for we have successfully completed the arduous challenge of creating a legislature that is efficient, just, and ambitious. Many governments around the world are still struggling to complete this great challenge that we have succeeded at. We must take pride in our accomplishments, but it is also important as citizens of the United States that we understand how we were able to come to such an accomplishment. As Americans, we have an obligation to learn how our government works so that we can better develop and progress it. For those who are unaware, Article 1 of the Constitution is what gives us the ability to establish legislature. From the get-go, the legislature is established in Article 1 with the introductory quote, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives, end quote. The framers of the Constitution recognize that the power to make laws, to shape policy, and to represent the ever-changing and diverse interests of the American people must reside in a legislature that is accountable to the citizenry. They deliberately designed a bicameral legislature to balance the interests of the states with the needs of the populations. The harmony between the interests of the holistic nation as well as the individual are both considered equally in the shaping of our nation. This harmony is ultimately reflected in Congress's ability to create laws ranging from taxes to national defense and any other issues that we as Americans hold true and dear. The creators of the Constitution, having living through tyrannical dictatorship, understood how dangerous unchecked power could be. As such, they ensure the harmony between the state and the citizen with the creation of checks and balances, starting with Article 1. For example, Article 1 gives Congress the ability to impeach the president if need be. The Founding Fathers understood how dangerous the unchecked power, for example, under King George III, when they were under the control of Great Britain. Additionally, Congress's power is also checked in Article 1 with the veto process. Additionally, the judicial branch can also check the power of the legislature via the judicial review. The process of checks and balances prevents absolute power from endangering the rights and freedoms of our country. We can ensure that the interests of the citizen are a top priority of our government, due ultimately to checks and balances. With all this considered, every individual truly contains great power for change and progress in the palm of their hand, whether it be through running, voting, or abstaining. Article 1 has created a unique ability as well as responsibility to the citizens of the United States. That ability being to create a government that is ultimately representative of the people that it serves, and the power to create laws that are necessary and proper. We have a responsibility as Americans to determine what is necessary and proper to us ultimately. Additionally, we have a responsibility to act not only with our heads, but with our hands. For knowledge without service is ultimately useless. We have the ability to create a government that serves us, but it must start with us. And starting with us means understanding the fundamental ideas and processes outlined in the Constitution. Perhaps our understanding can start off small, like many great things in the world do, just like our great nation, starting in 1607, 417 years ago, with the small colony of Jamestown, Virginia, with only a little over 100 settlers. As we face various challenges that endanger our freedoms and that they present themselves, we must understand our civil responsibilities and how to fulfill them. Let us take what we can learn from Article 1 and apply it to our daily lives so that we can ensure a government for the people, by the people. I believe this power that is invested in the people of the United States is reflected in a quote by John F. Kennedy. Quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." Thank you.
Time, please.
4 minutes, 37 seconds.
4 minutes, 37 seconds. No penalties for contestant 7. Contestant number 8, please. Please give your attention to contestant number 8.
The Second Amendment is one of the most controversial amendments in the entirety of the Bill of Rights. Especially in our day and age, there is no shortage of debate around this amendment. And while debate can be very productive, the debate around this amendment often devolves into partisan bickering, in which people are trying to prove a point rather than change minds or make progress. And so, today, I will do my best to avoid such posturing, and instead focus on the history of the Second Amendment and the facts behind its writing. But in order to properly understand the Second Amendment, we can't just look at the Constitution. We have to go back to 1689 with the writing of the English Bill of Rights. The English Bill of Rights, among other things, provided the right to bear arms for English citizens throughout the empire. And this document influenced the constitutions of the early states within the United States. For example, the Pennsylvania Bill of Rights also included a provision for the right to bear arms. But despite their seeming similarities, these two documents, in regards to their right to bear arms, differed immensely, and in two main ways. Number one, the English Bill of Rights said that the right to bear arms was only to be as provided by law, whereas the Pennsylvania Bill of Rights stated that the right to bear arms, much like in the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. And number two, the English Bill of Rights stated that the right to bear arms was solely for the defense of the individual, whereas in the Pennsylvania Bill of Rights and the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms is for the protection of the individual as well as the protection of the state. And it is this last point which is most important for a modern-day discussion of the Second Amendment, as many people don't know or don't realize that the Second Amendment's purpose when it was written was just as much for the defense of the individual as well as the defense of the country. And the reason for this is that in the United States' founding and early United States history, we did not have a standing military. And there were two main reasons for us not having a standing military. Number one, our country was in its infancy, and therefore was unable to properly provide funds to fund this standing military. And number two, due to recent events in France when Napoleon took over the military and instructed it to overthrow a democratic government, very similar to one that we have here in the United States, the American people became very afraid of a standing military and that this might happen in our country. But this may raise a question. How is the Second Amendment still relevant? It may seem as if almost every reason for the writing of the Second Amendment is now gone. The United States has the strongest military in the entire world by far, and an invasion of the U.S. homeland is almost impossible. And we have one of the strongest federal police forces and state police forces in the world that are able to prevent crime and protect personal freedom, liberty, and safety at a rate of which the world has never before seen. But despite the fact that the literal reasons for the passing of the Second Amendment aren't still with us, doesn't mean that the core ideals on which the Second Amendment is based aren't still very much present within our country. Despite our strong police force, the American people would still be uncomfortable relying 100% on the government for their own personal protection. And even in the relatively modern times of World War II, when the United States had among the strongest militaries in the entire world, it was not this which struck fear into the hearts of our enemies. As in the words of General Yamamoto, "You cannot invade the United States, as there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Thank you.
Time for contestant number 8.
4 minutes, 41 seconds.
4 minutes, 41 seconds, no penalties. Contestant number 9, please. Please give your attention to contestant number 9. Thank you.
Our nation was built on pain. For every whip the colonists took, the pain that was felt from them was not lost. When the Quartering Act oppressed them, when the Boston Massacre murdered them, when they were silenced by taxation without representation, each time they bled. But this blood was picked up again by Mr. Madison's quill. When he took to the Constitution, he wrote in that very blood, in the very soul of the American people, the very amendments that would protect them from these sins in the future. When American lives were lost, the First Amendment was created. When Americans lost the ability to fight, the Second Amendment was created. And when Americans were forced to house British soldiers, the Third Amendment was created. Each time an amendment was created to protect against pain that the American people felt. When they bled, their blood was taken up to save their sons and daughters from facing the same fate. They realized that someday in the future, once again, Americans would be oppressed. Once again, Americans would feel the pain of an oppressive government. Once again, Americans would bleed, and our forefathers gave us the opportunity to write in our blood as well. Article 5 of the Constitution allows us, the people, with a 3/4 vote from the states, we are able to amend the Constitution in our own blood to keep the souls of the Americans who fought for our Constitution alive, to keep our lives going, and to prevent an oppressive government from taking us over. We are able to take the very pain that we feel, the very blood that is taken from our bodies by the government, to take up our quills and write in that blood in our sacred document, the very same one that founded our nation. Our blood, our sweat, our tears, our lives are still felt in our document, and every single time we write in that paper, we remain alive. We keep the American dream going. We keep the American spirit alive in that document. For all the soldiers that lost their lives, more people put their lives on the line to contribute to our great document, to keep the blood from falling from more Americans. Every single time someone writes in that Constitution to amend it, they are doing so to make our nation better. They are doing so to take our blood and fight for something that matters. They remember Madison's 5th article. They remember the pain that the American people felt. They know that that will be felt again unless they fight for something. They take the beating that's given to them by that oppressive government, and they write again in that Constitution to save their sons and daughters. So all of you, remember the 5th article of the Constitution. Remember, you have the power to prevent the same pains you feel now from falling on your sons and daughters. Thank you.
Time, please.
3 minutes, 20 seconds.
3 minutes, 20 seconds, no penalties. The judges will retire to the holding room on the right, my right, to add up the scores. All the contestants in the back holding area, please come forward to the stage. The citizen who left their cell phone in the porta potty, if they want to claim it, please come see me. For everybody else, you may stand but stay in the room. Stretch your legs a bit. This will be a few minutes.
Ears. Ears. Sit. Gentlemen, it's getting late. And he's just about finished with the program here. And I'm going to ask that as you clear out of the hall, you do so quietly, no running, walk in groups, no straggling. Okay? Tomorrow is graduation. You guys been doing fantastic. Let's keep that train going. And I want you guys to be the best Boys State yet. And in some cases, maybe you will set the standard. Thank you.
If you need to stretch your legs, go ahead and stand in place. Don't go anywhere. Listen, in a few minutes when I get the judges' tallies, before I announce the scores, I'm going to ask each one by number to come up to the microphone. You're going to introduce yourself, name, number, county. All right? I'll give you a little something and then go back and stand. Then I'll do what I said before. We're going to do the top three. So when I say whoever's third place, you can step forward, wave your hand. Number two, the same thing, and then the first place winner for tonight. We'll get a little something extra from the commander, and you can receive everybody's accolades. Yeah. Down. Down. Huh? A little bit. When I get the scores, you're going to come up and roll each contestant by number. I'd like to take a moment to thank timekeepers Jim Bojanowski and Keith Costner, escorts Mike Capillo, Larry Cole, our judges Maggie Folk, Rena Nestler, and Dean Irk, with a special thanks to Maggie Folk for bringing all the material with her today. Please give them a nice little round of applause. I'm going to ask each of the 9 contestants to come up here in order, introduce themselves. Now at this time, once they introduce themselves, give them a good round of applause, and then see Commander Comer over there for a little souvenir. Contestant number 1.
Flynn McDonald, Roosevelt County, 0028.
Malad Etisami, McNeely County, 0140.
Jackson Catrone, 0502, Wong County.
Kevin Hidalgo, Fish County, 0233.
I'm JT Iononi, 0164, and I couldn't be more proud to say I'm from Cogatuck County.
Matt Gressack, 0683, Triola County.
Joe Waters, aka Beck Guy, 0383, Chamberlain County.
I'm Tommy Fernandez, 0342 of Stemper County.
I'm Gavin May, 0322 from Stemper County as well.
I'd like to thank all the contestants. They did a very good job learning how to do an oration on very little notice. I will announce the top 3 winners. When I announce your name, please stand up and just stand up forward and receive the cheers you so deserve. In 3rd place, from the County of Fish, it's citizen number 233, Kevin Hidalgo. In 2nd place, from the County of Stempler, citizen 342, Tommy Fernandez. And the winner of the Boys State Oratorical Contest, citizen 164 from the County of Cogatuck, James Inoni. Okay, I'll give you 1 second.
Let's hear it for Cogatuck County.
I know it's late, but we all know what 3 knocks means. The colors of our glorious nation behind me. Hand salute. 2. You are giving your instructions. Quietly, go back. Do not march. Do not run. Small groups back to your rooms. Good night.